Coming up, you're in your 30s or your early 40s, and there are things you have to talk to your therapist about. We're going to talk about what are the things that millennials talk about the most in therapy sessions. That's coming up right now on this edition of Depraved and Debaucherous. I'm King of Podcasts. Thanks for listening in. Catching the program as you always do. I appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, or you want to just have me put me in my place, put King of Podcasts in my place. You're wrong. You're the snap. Whatever you want to say. First of all, you can reach me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, or Instagram at King of Podcasts. That's number one. Number two, email is kingofpodcasts@yahoo.com. I'd love to hear from you. So now the story is Tess Brigham is a licensed therapist and author of Like Now, a radically practical guide to liking your 20s, sharing four of the most common struggles that bring millennials to therapy and how to overcome them. Four they spelled wrong in this Yahoo Life article. But anyway, here are four things. Number one, decision paralysis. The generation that's come of age with Amazon, Uber, and Instacart, and having all these options, technology at our fingertips. Barry Schwartz, who's the author of Paradox of Choice, Why More is Less, writes, quote, learning to choose is hard. Learning to choose well is harder. And also in a world of unlimited possibilities is harder still, perhaps too hard. So Brigham believes that there's a deeper understanding of yourself and what you want that will ease the decision-making pain, that you need to know what you want in a life and how you want things to be. And that you feel like you need to ask your therapist what you should do about certain things that you do. That's one thing they're talking about. To understand yourself, you got to really know what you want. So millennials, you're talking about, they might be some that are obviously in relationships or married, or they're single parents, or they're, feeling a little bit not disturbed. I would say a little bit dismayed because of the fact they're getting older. And they're trying to figure out where they're supposed to be. Sometimes if they're not married yet, or, if you're just getting yourself into your career and you have a lot of stress and anxiety, or you might be depressed, then you might want to figure out, what do you want? Where do you want things to be in life? And you feel like, okay, you had these expectations where you had when you were going into school or when you were getting out of high school. And you're saying, what did you want to become when you were an adult? And if you haven't made it there yet, or you're at a point and you feel like there's something more you need to be out of life, you want to be able to reach your mission, and maybe the original mission you have, you're not reaching. And how do you get there? And is that still the same mission that you wanted in the first place? It's what do you want out of life? That's what they're talking about here. Next is FOWOPT, fear of what other people think. I think FOMO is also this here, fear of missing out. For better or worse, we now have the influencers in our age. And we're seeing strangers and friends alike on 24/7 on social media, so like Instagram or TikTok. And I agree with this as well. When I see people that might be foodies that might going out and they're going out to all these different places to go and try food, or they're hanging out, they got money, they got status, and they're able to go out and travel, and they're out to go on vacation. They can go and do whatever they want, and they can hang out, and they have all this great fun. And I'm still sitting here, on my lazy boy here and recording in front of my laptop. And I'm not spending money to go out. I'm not dating just to date. And I'm not just trying to be some status symbol or seeking something where, you see other people also, not just even on videos, but just seeing thick pictures, like, selfies of whatever girls out there, guys out there hanging out and living a life, which we know part of that is kind of like just put together and looks like they're doing a lot when they're not. But okay, I get it. So seeing on social media the fear of what people think and fear of missing out, I would put in that same category, is also put into this whole idea where they talk to therapists about it. Social media has added the omnipresent fish tank pressure of everyone watching you. When a client comes to her to bring up, she talks about concerns about failure, especially compared to others. Yeah, the comparison of where they are in life compared to somebody else. Why is this person better than I am, or they're doing better than I am? What's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me, right? Letting go of regrets. Number 3, piggybacking the whole decision-making exhaustion Brigham finds many of her millennial patients have difficulty with letting go of the past. Grief over things not working out exactly the way they envisioned it. Well, millennials, I hate to tell you this, but someone that's Gen X, you always have those regrets. They'll pop up in your mind. What you just got to learn is to let them go. I mean, you can't change it now. You can't change it now. Plus, sometimes you might feel regret, but then you're going to change your mind on if you regret it or not, because things might have happened for a reason. And then down the line, you'll get a fulfillment. You'll get a chance to say, oh, you'll be enlightened. You'll say, oh, you got an epiphany. So this is why things happened the way they did. Remember that too. Because in my 30s, I felt like there were certain things that I didn't understand why they happened. Now, going from my 20s to my 30s, I always wanted to have a girl and I always wanted to have a relationship. And I didn't think about marriage, but I wanted a girl to be with. That was my goal. And that was my mission, actually. And the goal was to try to just get a girl on a date and then go ahead and move forward and find the right girl. A girl that I wanted, the one that I wanted to have. And it was something that I wanted because it was specific to what I wanted. But then in my 30s, I decided, well, I need to do something else because what I was trying to do in my 20s wasn't working. And then I got fed up of what I was doing in my 30s, trying to just make up for lost time and just reversing course and doing the opposite of what I was doing in my 20s when it came to dating. Yeah, being more of an asshole, being more of a jerk and trying to just, be more realistic. But either which way, I wasn't me myself. And that's the problem, is I never really was the best representation of me. I never really was able to be myself around everybody. And that's something I think that some of these millennials here, they go to the therapist because they're not being themselves. Fear of what other people will think. So then you become somebody that you're not. You conform. And what good is the conforming in that first place? For me, I just realized I never wanted to be that person, but I did try. And I said to myself, well, why is it I'm not with a girl and why am I not in a relationship? Why can't I find a girl with me? Because I kept subconsciously keeping myself out of bad relationships. Because once I got to my mid-30s, I started realizing to myself, I don't really pay attention to the fact that my friends had a lot of bad relationships. I've had family members that have been divorced. And I look at other people and I just started seeing the bigger picture and saying, when I see people in relationships, we always see them out holding hands and going out in public. But that's what's going on in public. Privately, or when a girl might not be all made up and put together, or when a guy is like not having his best or is not fresh into a relationship with a girl and they're holding hands and just going out. Like I go out all the time. And like even today, I'm going out to Rosemary Square or the square here in downtown West Palm Beach. And I'm looking at the crowd that's going across and I'm doing an Uber Eats delivery. I'm picking up at the salad place called Sweet Green. And I'm going there and I'm seeing all these different couples together, young couples. And I'm seeing one guy and girl, they're with their dog and they're going around. And I can just say to myself, okay, this guy, he's out here, they're in the heat when they could rather be at the beach because it's a 90-degree day. And the woman's getting the most benefit shopping. And the guy is holding the leash of this dog, which I could tell was not his dog because it's a little poodle. So he's pushing around the dog, or the dog's pushing him around. And, they're just kind of hanging out and he's trying to be casual and comfortable, but you can tell he's not. And like, I'm saying to myself, I would not want to be where this guy is right here, probably having to spend a lot of money on some place over here to go hang out, going shopping around all day in the heat and having to take this dog around. And who knows if the dog needs to take a crap or take a piss. And you have to clean it up after in this public place. Does that sound like fun? Plus, this downtown area, you got to go find the parking lot and it's a parking garage. You got to get to that. You got to pay for that. All the money accrued, the time spent. And I'm saying to myself, do I want a girl so much that I have to go through everything like this just to be with her? When normally I'm just used to saying, okay, well, those first couple of dates, there's not that much involvement because you're like, okay, we're going on a date. We meet up, we hang out, something happens, and then we all go home. But then it's also me kind of controlling the situation. We're just the dating part that I enjoy, but the relationship part or the longer term in the dating phase, then you're getting here and you're saying, is that what I wanted? Like you're going out because you don't want other people to see, oh, look, this guy's a cute girl. This girl's a cute guy, this and that. Oh, look at the cute couple. And you got to be out there. You got to be seen. You got to be noticed. You got to be wearing, these kind of clothes, have this kind of style, put yourself together a certain way, all of that. And social media also makes you think this way as well, because you look at what everybody else is doing and then you feel the need, you need to replicate it. Is that a good idea? You tell me, but I wouldn't want to do that. I like to be that nonconformist. And in my 40s, I realized I would have been miserable if I would have had a girl that I was with and I had to go through all of that because, having to go to baby showers or to weddings or to friends hang out and some place of people that I don't even want to be around, because I've realized I've grown to like being a loner and just doing my own things. And so that's why I'm not dating, because I like where it is being single. I've grown to like being single. I really have. Of course, the problem is we have loneliness. And that's the other part you want to have is like, well, I don't want to be, in my 40s and alone. And I don't want to be, I've never like lived where I've gone with somebody that could go traveling with, to go see the world with. All those things that you might have thought about in your 20s or your teens, you said, okay, in my 30s, I should be out doing all the things I said I was going to do when I was younger. Now I'm an adult. I'm making my own money. I'm making my own income. I have my own lifestyle. I should be doing all this. And maybe you don't have the girlfriends or the guys to hang out with. Or those, like, that's the thing. That's one thing I feel like right now is fearing of missing out because of going on vacation. I don't have those kind of friends that have the kind of income of this and that to go out or feel like I'm so close to that I can go out and do stuff with like that. And so I need to learn how to travel and go on vacation by myself. And that's just like, being secure and feeling like, okay, I could do this and this can be done. That's a hard lesson to learn. And in my 40s, it's hard to learn that. And for those in their 30s, these are the kind of things that can, make you anxious, make you feel depressed, which is why you go to the therapist in the first place. The fourth thing they say here is dating app fatigue. So millennials seek therapy to talk about dating and relationships, going back to that paradox of choice. And she explains that there's a lot of dating fatigue because there's a tremendous amount of work just to figure out if you're interested in someone. Dating has always come with obstacles and challenges, but she sees millennials wasting a lot of time swiping, ultimately leading to burnout. And we know that because it goes as far back as Hot or Not. Remember Hot or Not? And now we have Tinder. That's where we are today. So if you are just swiping through, if you're on Hinge or Bumble, swipe, swipe, swipe. In your 30s now, and you're in your early 40s, you're saying, okay, swipe, swipe, swipe. And you're just not satisfied because you had this initial thought of who you were going to be and who you were going to be with. Well, those expectations, throw them out the window because they're just expectations. And the regrets, they're regrets that you don't have to live with. You don't have to worry about. Look, you can make something more and live past the regret. Regret's just going to hold you down. You have to let it go. You got to find a way to let it go. You have to reason with yourself about your regret. You have to give yourself reason and logic and just realize there's a reason why things happen the way they did. And that's the truth. Things always happen for a reason. It is what it is. And most importantly, you know what? If you did like I was, where, I was trying to be, trying to change course in my 30s, trying to figure out, to do something more to get together. You know what you could be? You know what you could be doing instead of being so regretful and trying to go ahead and have expectations? Take the lower expectations. Sometimes you just want to fool around. Sometimes you just want to be a little depraved and debaucherous.